Hello and welcome back. In this video we're going to work with the Terraform state file. So in order to allow us to collaborate with colleagues, etc., we need to move that state file, which is currently local, into a remote repository so that it can be worked on by multiple parties. It also provides us some kind of fail-safe in case we lose our local hard disk. So let's check that out. Okay, so we're back at our client PC, and when we ran initially the Terraform apply or Terraform plan commands, it generated this local Terraform state file. So we did briefly look at it in a previous video. It's just a JSON based file. As you can see, we should never edit it from this file. So let's get out of that quickly. Let Terraform manage that in its entirety. Don't try and modify it. Don't try and be clever, because bad things will happen. But what we do need to do, that's no good to a colleague of mine who wants to work on the same project, because obviously I've got a copy of the state file. So obviously we could give him a copy of that file or give her a copy of that file. But then as soon as they make changes, it's going to be out of sync with our state file. So it's no good having it local. And plus, if we lose our hard drive, then obviously we lost our state file. So what we're going to do is we're going to move it up to a remote storage where we can all collaboratively work on it. And obviously, because this is a Terraform and Azure video, we're going to use an Azure storage account for that. I'm not going to create the storage account with Terraform because it's kind of stateful. So we don't really want it to be managed with Terraform. Obviously, you absolutely could, but in this scenario, we're not. We're actually going to create it manually. So let's head over to our portal. Okay, so we've got the portal open. Let's create a new resource. So the first thing we need to create is a resource group to contain our storage account. In fact, let's not use the portal. I'll change my mind. Let's head back to our project. Let's use the Azure CLI. Let's get some exposure to that. So let's create a PowerShell command, state.ps1. So ps1 is the extension for PowerShell. And first thing to do, let's declare some variables for our object names. So we're going to want a resource group name, and let's give it the value of resource group, project name, tf-state. Makes sense. What else are we going to need? We're going to need a storage account name. So let's create that. And let's give it a value of tf-state. As we know, storage account names need to be unique. So there's this neat little function in PowerShell, one of many, that we can run, which will generate a random number. And I think it's get random. Yep. So that's going to generate a random number for us and append it to tf-state. And what else we need? We need a container name. So let's give that tf-state. So that's going to be the blob container that gets created in our storage account. And we're also going to need a location. So let's give that a location of West US 2 to follow with what we've been doing. So let's just put those variables into memory. So let's just run those selected items. So we can actually have a look at, say, the resource group name. And it's just given it as tf-state. Why did it not? Oh yeah, sorry. Let's have a look at the storage account name. And see what value that's got. So yeah, so we've got our tf-state and then the random number. So that's all good. I hope that's going to be unique within Azure. So let's use the az command first of all to create a group, a resource group. So the command for that is az group create. And then we need to give it a name. And obviously we've already declared that. So we can use a resource group name, and obviously we need to give it a location. And let's give that our location variable. So that should be enough to create our resource group. So let's see if we get any errors. So let's just highlight that and run that. So it's saying that the tf-state is misspelt. So what have I done wrong here? Okay, so it's not -- create. It's actually az group create and then -- name. So the values are -- the actual command where you want to run is just on its own. So let's try that again. Okay, so its claim has created it. So let's head over to the portal and see if we can see it yet. As we know, there's a bit of a delay sometimes. Let's give it a couple of refreshes until it appears. It's on one of its slow days. There we go. So it's finally appeared. So we've got our resource group. I've just realised I've spelt it wrong. RGP. So, but we'll leave it. It's fine. It's okay. Right. So next we need to create a storage account. So to do that with Azure CLI, we specify AZ storage account create, and the name is going to be our storage account name variable. And we also need to give it a resource group that we want to place it into, which I think is resource dash group. And we specify that as our resource group variable. It's going to go off the screen a bit here. So what we can do with PowerShell is pretty neat, is we can actually use the tick symbol and we can put it down to the next line. So let's do that. And let's give it what else does it need? Something's missing here, isn't it? Create storage. There should be name in there. And then next we need to give it a SKU. And in this case, we will provide standard underscore LRS. So I think that should allow us to check that. Storage account create, name, resource group. Okay, so let's run that and see if we get any errors. Knowing with my typing, we probably will, but it's looking good. It's running anyway, which is always a good sign. Okay, so that's completed successfully. So let's head over to the portal and check inside our TF state resource group. And like just as the fashion is at the moment, it's taken a long time to actually generate or reflect in the portal. So a few more refreshes. There we go, it's finally there. So we've got our storage account. Now we need to create a container in there to store our state file. So the command for that will be AZ storage container create, and we're going to give that a name of our variable, what we've already declared for a container name. And we're going to give it, we've got to tell it which account to attach it to, or to place this container in. And that's dash account name. And obviously we've got our storage account name already in our variable. So fingers crossed, this should also run okay. Let's run that. Okay, so yeah, it's telling us that we need to do a few other things to make it secure, but I'm not too worried about that right now. So it's created true. So let's see if that's lying to us or not. So let's go and have a look in our storage account, and there should be a container called TF state. Real good. So that's the portal. We no longer need this because we've already done it. So let's just get rid of that to keep it tidy. We won't be needing that again. Right, so now that we've got our storage account, how do we actually get our TF state file, this one here, to be moved up there? Well, that's actually really quite easy. What we need to do is head over to our providers tab block. So we've got our required providers, and in the Terraform block, we can create another one called backend. So this is going to tell Terraform that we're actually going to be using a remote TF state, and we tell it which sort of cloud provider we're going to put it into. In this case, it's going to be Azure RM. There's options to use AWS or Terraform Cloud itself, among others, but we're doing Azure RM. So the first thing we need to tell it is what resource group name it's going to go in. And we know what that is, don't we? So let's just grab it from our, hopefully it's still in our memory. There we go. So we need it to go into that resource group we've created. We also need to tell it what storage account name to put it into. That was that one that was generated with a random string. So let's find out what that was. And there it is. Let's put that value in there. What else do we need to tell it? So obviously we need to tell it what container to put it into. And so let's find out what that was. Container name. It was just tf state. And we also need to provide a key. Now this isn't a security key or anything like that. This is actually just the name of the file that we want the tf state to be called. So we're going to call ours dev-tf state. The reason we're doing that, because later on we may want to have different environments, and obviously they're going to be managed through a different state file. So in this case we're doing tf state. So that should be it. So now if we run Terraform init again, it should now detect that we're actually doing a tf state. So this file here should be copied up to our back end. There we go, it's disappeared. Well, it hasn't disappeared, it's still there. So do you want to copy the existing tf state to back end? Then we're going to say yes. So now it's just doing its magic. It's still there. I was expecting it to disappear, but maybe it doesn't. So now if we head over to our portal, do a refresh. So in here, we should now have our state file. So let's just quickly, actually, just look at that a bit more. So as you can see, it's got a lease state of available. So if we look at the properties of this, we can see, where is it? So it's currently unlocked and it's available. So if we were to run, say, a Terraform plan file, what it should do is it should lock that file to stop other engineers using it at the same time, so there's no conflict. So while that's running, let's quickly head over there and refresh this. See, now it's got a status of locked and it's currently leased out. So when that finishes, it should turn back to available again. So we'll just let that finish. Okay, so that's finished. So if we head back over to this, we should now see that the status is now available and it's unlocked and available again. So another engineer can work on it collaboratively with us and not break anything. So we don't need this anymore. Let's delete that. And we don't need that anymore. Let's just make sure we haven't broken anything. So let's do another plan. Okay, so we're all good. So we've now moved our TF state file up to a remote storage. So we've now made our project a lot more resilient, and now we can work on it with others. So we've only really touched the surface of the Terraform state file and what we can do with it. I'll probably do a deep dive into each of the concepts we've already covered in all of the video series so far. As this is just a beginner's course, I don't really want to get bogged down with the finer detail. I just want to give us enough knowledge to be able to actually get something up and running. So that's probably the end of this video. I don't think there's much more we can cover on TF state for the moment. In the next video, we're going to start building out the rest of our solution. So just before we go, let's take a quick look at that. So far we've built and deployed our resource group, and we've deployed a couple of storage accounts, and we've created a storage container within our guest one, ready to house our custom scripts for our post-deployment configuration. So I think in the next video, we probably should focus on the virtual network, subnets, and the NSGs. So thanks for watching this video. I hope you stick around for the next one, and take care.